Yo, guys, what's up? Welcome back to the ABoutWellbeing podcast. And today I am with Benny Wortley, and we have been drinking coffee and talking about all things good. What's up, man?
How are you, man? I'm doing the double intro. It's not as organic this time, but I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Nah, it's good, man. We've been chatting all things gym, relationships. We're talking about Lee. Talking about all kind of good stuff. Lee kind of plugged us in so we could connect together and stuff. And man, I'm so happy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Do we do a handshake?
No,
you go, yeah.
It's
funny because on the way here I was thinking, man, I know Corey, but I actually probably really haven't chatted to Corey before. Yeah, and I think this is that day and age we live in where, you know, your gym bro, it's like, hey bro. Yeah. And then you follow each other on the social channels. Yeah. And then you feel like you know the people anyway. Yeah, dude. Meanwhile, I'll just come strolling into your house and then I'm making myself at home here, we're chatting. Sorry for the takeover, man. Yeah, well, it's good when you got similar friends as well. Because I hear so many stories about you. Even Lee was saying, I'll be something, we'll be talking and we'll be like, oh, do you want to train tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to train legs. And he's like, nah, no can do. I jumped in and did a couple of sets with Benny yesterday, so there's no way I'm training legs. The Monday nighter, yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. Haven't walked the same since.
No, it's good. I really wanted to get Benny on to talk about a couple of things, which would be, I think extremely important. And for the people that don't know Ben, I remember one of the first times, you have been coaching people for ages in the fitness industry. You've crushed it in all the natural bodybuilding stuff, absolutely crushed it. I have one of the best memories of you.
Thanks, man.
I was I think it was, what was the last time you competed? It was ICN, wasn't it?
Yep, 2017.
Yeah, 2017. I remember being in the audience at the Norwood Town Hall, and I have never seen anyone in a bodybuilding show get up and do a routine, and it was like a rock concert, because everyone in the audience, man, everyone was standing up cheering. I was like, yeah. And we had this, it was literally like a rock concert. You're on stage just doing your thing, and I was like, oh man, that is just fucking awesome.
The problem is, man, the first time I did a comp was in 2007. Ooh. And as a teenager,
how old were you when you first competed?
I just turned 18.
Okay, yeah.
And back in my primary school days, or late primary school, early high school, I was into breakdancing, skateboarding, urban thug
You've been
kid.
Such an active kid, yeah.
So dance battles at blue light discos. That was my thing. Right? That was my thing.
You were crushing people in the dance battles.
I remember I learnt the poses for this, obviously the competition, what you have to do, and had the speedos and everything like that. Except, they're called trunks. Yeah. Trunks. At the time, I thought they were like speedos. So we got told you have to make this routine, and it goes for 60 seconds. You can choose a song of your choice. Mm-hmm. Now, being the organised male that I am, we had, back then there was a morning show and then a night show. So the morning show was where it was called your pre-judging. Yeah. So you did that for us. You were basically getting judged and compared to the other athletes. And then the night show was when you would come back and everyone would do a routine. And they'd give you the awards and everything. So I hadn't made a routine. Yeah. So I came back from the morning show. I remember being back at home in the backyard on the grass. And I had this song, Timberland, The Way I Are. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I had it playing and then I was like, what can I do for this? And I was just thinking, and I'm like, man,
this day. Oh, God.
I'm gonna throw some breakdancing in there. I don't know if that's what they do at these shows, but I'm gonna do it. And then the trouble was, so I was this young buck doing this breakdance sort of posing routine on stage. Yeah. But then that kind of became my brand almost. So then every comp they're like, oh, you got to do something funny this time, your last routine. And so then you get caught in this kind of a phase where they expect you to do that. So now I can't even turn back from that, because that's what they know and expect from me. So I think it's nice to break it up, because back then the evening shows were, and no disrespect to anyone else, but some of the routines were very similar and the same sort of music, same slow pace. So it was good to break the mold a little bit.
Definitely.
And add a little bit of excitement to it. So I'm glad that was your first memory of it.
Dude.
Bringing some blue light disco to the stage.
It was crazy, and you've been coaching for people it was George and Jimmy, back in rural Gawler Green. We're getting coached by.
Those lads.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They got absolutely peeled, and we were just holy, as when I first competing. So that was,
really good guys. And I think that's the beauty of what I get to do is you get to meet some really cool people. And like attracts like what we were talking about before. And I think this industry, you can, like, I've been blessed enough that I've made a lot of friends, like lifelong friends and connections with people. And it's really a part of one of those things when people say they love what they do. I can genuinely say that I really do enjoy what I do. So
why did you get into the gym?
So the gym scene started for me was I finished high school end of 2006. 2007 I went to university and did human movement and sports science. Cool. So I was at that transitional phase where I was, as a kid, any sort of sports I could do. Like, I never sat still. And then I mainly got into the athletics and cross country and footy and soccer. They were sort of my main ones. I tried basketball as well, but then in year 7 when kids were hitting puberty, and here I am up to people's waist. Like, mum and dad are sort of like, maybe keep focusing on the athletics, Benny. Like,
they keep telling you?
Yeah. So I realised pretty quick that I wasn't going to be making the NBA. So as my years progressed, I hope this camera makes me look taller as well. As the years progressed, I mainly got into the athletics side of thing, and then still playing footy at the end of high school, and I wanted to become a little bit stronger. And also doing motocross, and the bike's quite heavy, so that's why I started the gym, was to learn a little bit more what they were talking about in my uni degree,
to get strong,
like resistance training and muscle hypertrophy and all these terms, and also to get stronger for the sports. As you probably know yourself, when you start going to the gym and then you start to see these changes, all of a sudden,
and the energy, the
t-shirts get a little bit tighter, and you're thinking, like, you find yourself like double glancing at the mirror every now and then, almost putting your neck out. You're thinking, hang on, I can see that. That's a bicep right there.
And the old boys start saying things like, "Hey, putting a bit of muscle on there, mate."
Yeah.
You're like,
and
fucking yes.
And it creates that, like, that positive snowball of momentum. And so you start to see these changes. And I always liked and probably excelled at the sports where you were rewarded for the individual effort. So, like, for example, team sports, you could have the game of your life, a footy, but if your team goes down, it's hard to celebrate your efforts.
That's a good
Whereas things like your athletics and your cross country and your gym, your efforts and your results are a direct reflection of the effort you've put in. And I think that's what I found. So I guess you could use the word addictive for the gym scene and the sport. And that's what sort of led me into it, if I'm honest. So, and then as that year progressed, I just started learning more and more things. I went to a little studio at that stage. It was called YPFS, Your Personal Fitness Studio. And a guy called Evo, this big jacked guy, he ran it. And I'd love to connect with him. I've tried to look him up on socials, but I don't think he has any. But he showed me your basic, right, we're going to do a seated row. Now we're going to do a bench press. And, like, it was just like a 3-day split. And then I was still doing footy training, all the rest. And then I ended up getting to that stage where essentially, like, I was wagging footy training to go to the gym. And because it was only under 18s back then, you'd still get a game. And I just gradually transitioned into it. And Evo, the guy at the gym, he said, "Oh, have you ever thought about doing competition?" And I'd actually seen up a couple of posters at UniSA. And I was like, nah, man, that's not for me. Like, that fake tan and the Speedos, that's not my style. Anyway, it was a little bit of inception because that seed got in there. And I thought, maybe I should just try and do this. And like I said, I had no idea. So I approached someone about some posing. I was just doing a lot of running back then, so I was pretty lean. I remember I went into Aussie Muscle, Kim. He was working behind the desk, and I said, "Oh, I want to enter in this bodybuilding competition." And because I was quite small in my frame, I think I had a hoodie on at the time, he sort of said, he sort of looked at me and he said, "Oh, okay, muscle building competition." I said, "Yeah, the bodybuilding competition." And he's like, "Right." He's like, do you have abs?" Because I think it was about 3 weeks out. And anyway, I just sort of like pulled up my jumper and he goes, "Okay, well, yep, here's the entry form. You'd be in a teenage class." And like, he, obviously he saw something that might have a little bit of potential. So learned the poses, went to my first competition. I was fortunate enough, I won the teenage class.
Hell yeah.
And I won the most muscular award, which was like, that was a title given for, I guess, leanest competitor on the day. And all this was news to me, man. Like, I was just stoked to get up there. And back in the day, you got these, like, it was almost like a muscle building show bag where you got a t-shirt and you got some protein shakers and some samples. And it was I think because I had zero expectations, the outcome, it was a surprise, but it was a good surprise. And I just felt like there was a part of me that felt right at home with it as well, where I was like, man, maybe I should have a crack at this and actually go down this rabbit hole, learn how to...
Were you nervous before that first? I'm just going to see how it is.
I think from everything I've done in life, I've always been a bit of a class clown. I like a bit of an audience, and I think even back to those breakdancing days, being on stage, although it was a little bit foreign to me, I still felt semi-comfortable.
Yeah, cool.
And because I was able to display some of my personality with that routine, and I guess before anything, you do have a little bit of nerves, but once you're up there, you're fine. I mean, you know, it's like you get up there, and there's these lights in your eyes. And the audience, back then it used to be dark. Nowadays the audience is a bit more lit up. But it's a bit of a surreal feeling. And you just got to part ways with the ridiculousness of you are literally up there in a set of trunks having your body judged. Like when you say that out loud, you're like, man, no wonder they don't call it a sport. Like, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but you say you do bodybuilding, and if you use the word sport, often people say, oh, it's not really a sport.
Think about that, that's super vulnerable, hey, when you're
it is, man. Like, judge me, please.
Judge me.
Judge me.
Like, goddamn, I remember looking at some of my photos when I was first competing, and like my pecker was sticking up right in this little spot there, and I was like, oh god,
and turn to the side, like
seeing the little head just sticking up. I was like, no,
and strike. Hope they got my good side, man. Should pump that thing up. But then, I could go on for ages about this, so I'll try and recap briefly. Then after that, I remember I started to take it a little bit more seriously, and I was fortunate enough to cross paths with a guy called Nick Jones, owner of Gentech at the time. So I didn't realise he was the MC of that first show. And we coincidentally trained at the same. It was Marion Fitness First back then. And this guy came up to me. He always used to wear big baggy stuff. And he's like, Benny, you did the teenage class on the weekend. Like, and as you know, he's an absolute gentleman. Knew my name, everything like that. And I said, oh, I did the class, and I had a good time and everything. He goes, man, you looked really good, and I see a lot of like potential in you. I started back when I was your age as well. Anyway, he goes, come out to my car, and I'm thinking like, fucking hell, what is this? Like, this big Jack dude asked me to go out to his car, walk out to the car park, Mercedes, Gentech number plates. And I'm thinking, wow, this guy, he must work for Gentech. Pops open the boot, and he goes, man, here, have this. It was his DVD. And it was the Nick Jones Natural Reinvention, I think it was called. And he gave me this Gentech visor. And like, man, I felt like that moment for me, I'll never forget. Because I was like, wow, this dude, like, he's obviously a big name in this industry. And this visor, like, hey, if I was to wear a visor now at Fitness First, you'd be laughing at me. But I don't think I took that thing off for like a month straight. This Gentech visor and the DVD, I watched that thing, and he was a big influence for me, man. So that really started my journey. Came back the next year, did the state show again. I was fortunate enough to win that, and then the goal was to go to nationals. So I went to nationals on the Gold Coast, and back then, man, the numbers were huge. It was INBA, and I reckon there was about 15 of us, maybe 16 of us in the teenagers.
Teenagers. Jeez.
Nowadays you might get like 6, 7, 8 maybe, so it would have been double numbers easily. And I was fortunate enough I won that, so that really sparked my journey. That second year, that was where it really started to
experience a bit of kingship there, and you're just like, man, if I want to get into the big boys now, because obviously you're still a teenager.
And it just it opens, like, it gives you that sense of, like, you get a little bit of confidence from it as well, where you're like, man, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can really go somewhere with this.
National title, man.
And then that's just where I guess I started to delve further down to the rabbit hole, and then competed 2009, did nationals again, 2010 again, went over to New York, my first trip to America. That was to compete. It was amazing. I went over by myself, or without any family or friends as such. Went over with Hazer Cayley and his brother. That was with WMBF back then. And I remember just when we got in there, I woke up the next day to do my cardio, and I was 21. I turned 21 that year, and I went out to Central Park to do my cardio. And again, moments like this that I'll just never forget, where I guess because this was never a dream I had as a kid, it just sort of organically unfolded. But there were those moments when I was walking through Central Park and I'm like, man, this is real life. Like, this is happening. Yeah. I am lucky to be doing this. Yeah. And I was lucky enough because at the comps I ended up winning the amateur men. Yeah. And the amateur men overall, which was the combination of the weight classes, and it just really started this this new life for me. Really, that's what became my life. That's what I adjusted to, and as you know, it's a lifestyle change. And I've still always I've been proud of being a really balanced bodybuilder and quite different to the sort of stereotype. And I think that's allowed me the longevity as well. So that following year I took it off. Me and 6 mates, we went over to Europe and that was our first big overseas trip. Yeah. Everything from the Monaco Formula Ones, we did all through the Greek islands, Italy, it was epic. And that then opened up another can of worms for me, which was like, wow, travel. Yeah. This is cool. Oh yeah. So then that was another new passion of mine. And this is the thing, they're the two polar opposites on the end of the scale. You know, one, you have to be so prepared, and like we were talking about before, you need your meals, you need your training schedule, you need your sleep, and then travel. The thing that almost makes it addictive and fun is like being spontaneous, and you don't know where you're going to eat lunch, you know what you're going to eat for lunch, you don't know what time you're going to go to bed, where you could be the next day, and they are on opposite ends of the spectrum. So this is where I then went, so I competed again in 2012. I then started to develop injuries, and I sort of became, I think, a little bit more humbled by just how vulnerable the body is as well, and how much you need to take care of it, because all I knew back when I was younger was like, the harder you train, the better results you got. Well, that's what we thought.
Eat and train hard as fuck.
And I used to have magazine subscriptions. There was no Instagram. I'm trying to sound like a fossil here, but no,
I get it.
Facebook and Instagram, they were later on the scene, and all the workouts and everything I would get were from, you know, your Iron Man magazines, and try Ronnie Coleman's chest workout. And
just hectic.
Because you're young and naive, there was nothing in these magazines about rest and recovery. There was nothing in there about your central nervous system and being in a sympathetic state versus parasympathetic state. All this stuff we now look into, which controls our results. You wouldn't find an article in there about gut health, but you just would go for it. And then, as all good things must come to an end, I started to develop injuries. So from then on, I did another comp in 2014. I was nursing a bad shoulder. I had a torn labrum.
Oh, Jesus.
Then 2015, I had that repaired, and also a hernia repair about a week apart. And that was I treat it as like taking your car in for your 100,000k service. Where I'd made the decision, and I was like, right, I need some time off from this. It's going to allow me that time to focus on other elements of life, which is what I did. So that was coincidentally around the same time I started to go down the rabbit hole of just personal development. And you hear people say, oh, that injury is the best thing that happened to me, or that event was the best thing that happened to me, when they talk about, maybe some negative things that have happened in their life. But that truly was one of the best things to happen to me, because it allowed me to detach from the sport, which can consume you, and to do well in that, you actually have to be consumed. But it allowed me to take to take a step back and go, wow, there's these other aspects of life as well. And as you know, if we're training for say 90 minutes or 2 hours a day, imagine if you treated let's just say yoga you're training. If you spent 90 minutes to 2 hours a day on yoga, how good you'd become at that, or saving money, or starting a business, or learning about females and bettering your relationships. If you spent 2 hours a day each day,
it's going to be mastered.
So I started So I started to. It just gave me a much broader perspective, and I go, wow, there's all these other avenues of life as well. And so since I've got back into it, obviously, and I love what I do, and I still pride myself on leading by example, and I'm still passionate about bodybuilding, but now I come at it with a different approach. And I think that's what's helped me with the longevity of the sport, is now I can pride myself on saying I live quite a balanced lifestyle. And I'm still wary of what I eat and my sleep, and I still train, try to train as hard as I can, but a bit smarter nowadays. But I know there's time for other things in life now too. And you can't neglect things like hobbies, friendships, family relationships, partner relationships, all these other avenues of life that still deserve that sort of attention as well.
With all the science, as you said, when we learn about parasympathetic and sympathetic states, when you're doing those things and you're actually having those, we grow when we're not training, right? So, we grow when our cup's full, we're not fucking stressed out. So actually prioritizing those things is going to get us into more of a parasympathetic state. We're going to heal better. One point that you wanted to that I really wanted to mention was, yes, you've been nailing the balance. And I remember seeing an Instagram story of yours literally a few years ago. So this was when I was sort of started the competing journey. And I was like, oh, this is the best tip anyone has ever given anyone on social media ever, for anyone who does bodybuilding and some meals and stuff. You were competing and you weren't going somewhere interstate, and you're like, guys, huge hack. If you ever need to go interstate and get your meals in,
I know what's coming.
Go to the babies' change rooms because there's a microwave in there. And then you can use a microwave, heat up your food. Man, I've used that so many times.
Be careful, man. Don't walk in there with dark shades. You have security dragging out of you. But I think it's airports, although there might be new laws on that now.
Nah, the airport's got microwaves in them, man. You can go in there. Okay. Yeah, you can go there straight into the baby section where they change the babies.
Perfect. So it still works.
Still works, man.
That's right. I've had some weird looks over the years, but you tried cold rice versus hot rice. When you're in a depleted state, warm rice, that thing is like caviar or lobster. Dude. You know what I mean? You're counting every single grain. You try and eat that thing cold, and
dude,
you don't even care if you spill something out the container. You're like, ground, you can have that. Take those 4 grains of rice, man.
Take it all. It's disgusting.
When you said that with the biggest tip, I was thinking, what was it here?
What was it? Dude, it was actual life changing.
Okay.
And I wanted to know some other stuff because when you traveled, man, you were so lean the whole time you were traveling. I was like, what did you know? What was your routine for traveling that allowed you to do to maintain that? It was crazy.
Not the bodybuilding trips, but when I've just done other trips Europe and stuff.
When you went over to Europe and stuff, man, I was like, oh my God, was it just nah, I'm just not going to pig out on food because I have a problem every time I go on holiday. I'm like, I get to eat everything now.
Okay, so if there was before and after photos, flight over versus flight home, you would have seen there was quite a difference.
But it was still crazy though.
I'm a big believer, and I think I credit a lot of this to the way my parents raised me. Was if you want something, or if you've got a goal, you got to work towards it. So if I ever booked in a trip for overseas, or I would make sure that prior to going away on that trip, I would try and feel like I deserved that trip. So I would get everything aligned, I'd try and work hard. I wouldn't go out beforehand. I'd be right into my training. I'd watch my eating. So admittedly, not that I was preparing for a competition by any means, but I was much more diligent with all the other aspects of life and making sure that I sort of earned that holiday.
So you wanted to deserve your celebrations?
100%, yeah. So I would always, prior to a trip, rather than being in holiday mode before going on a holiday, I would, resist temptation of going out and eating, and more so going out and partying, that sort of thing. I would try and save that for what the holidays are meant to be for, to let your hair down and to explore and have a good time. And I think you appreciate things more so. So prior to going away, it was, that was a little ritual that I did. Just try and make sure that I was fairly strict in the lead up to that. And so I remember when me and the boys, we did a trip a few years back, the 3 of us in the house were sort of we're making sure we're keeping each other accountable, and we were looking at what each other would be having for dinner, and all of a sudden we're getting close to the trip, and then it's have you been out doing cardio? And then the next day I'm out doing cardio, and the next day, and we're all getting that little bit leaner, but you want to be able to enjoy your trip.
Definitely.
And then while I'm away, mate, because it is a lifestyle that I've become accustomed to.
You have to stick to some stuff to respect yourself. Right?
And I feel good when I eat good.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of if we were at, say, a breakfast or something like that. If you go to a traditional buffet breakfast. Yeah. Typically, all of them have hard-boiled eggs, or some sort of eggs that you can obviously eat. And with that sort of stuff, I'd normally go, say, eggs and fruit or something like that for breakfast. I wasn't big on just devouring the pancakes and the waffles and everything, mainly because I'd feel crap afterwards. Yeah. It wasn't because I was trying to be look at you guys eating those waffles. Here I am, I'm the committed man eating my egg whites. I wasn't trying to be better than anyone else. It's just genuinely because I feel better my stomach is quite sensitive, so...
And it is when you stick to all this stuff, man, because it gets used to eating whatever 100%. It is. And, you know, all the bacteria and stuff that's in it, man.
And if I'm going to be in a place, though, and they're like, wow, this restaurant is renowned for its pizza, you have to try its pizza, of course I'm going to get in there and try that pizza.
Yeah.
But I'm the sort of guy, if I have, like, say if I had some pizza tonight, like, I'm good for, like, a week or so. Like, I've had that pizza taste now.
Yeah,
and
satisfied.
I probably wouldn't want it the next day.
Yeah.
So that I think a lot of it comes down to that, and just being a little bit intuitive with my eating as well. So if I know that my output's been a little bit lower that day, I'm probably not going to go, you know, to town on that buffet and make sure that thing goes out of business. It's a little bit mindful. And again, it's not doing that because I'm trying to not enjoy my holiday, or I'm just trying to be this disciplined. Like,
depends where you go, because there's so many good breakfast places.
Yeah,
there's so many good dinners.
100%.
If you're out at somewhere that's like extremely genuine, like you must eat here, you're like, well, I'm going to eat there, but you know, I eat 4 or 5 times a day, so like I can pick one meal that I'm extremely
and that's the other thing as well.
There that aren't as good. I'll wait till later.
Like typically when you're back here, you're eating multiple times per day. Like, you know, maybe it's 4 or 5, whatever it is, depending on what sort of dietary approach you're taking. But over there, because you are holidaying to experience an adventure, you don't normally have time to eat that many times in a day. You know, you might have a good breakfast. It might be a bit of a snack lunch because you're on the go. And then it might be a larger dinner. So really that calorie intake is probably not too far over, if it even is over, what you would normally consume.
100%. Well, as far as all of, like, you know, that goes, what do you think would be some of the best hacks that you've used, like nutrition-wise? Well, what has worked best for you that you have found out, whether it's like in your routine, just as far as like health, muscle gain, getting lean?
It's hard to narrow it down to like a 1 or 2 tips. But I think, like, just over the years with myself, is take the time to learn your body. If you were to go away and tell me, right, man, I do this style of eating and it works great. If I went and tried that and expected the same results, which is, we live in this day and age now where you follow so-and-so on Instagram, or they posted that they do the if it fits your macros or whatever. Take the time to find out what makes you feel good. And your lifestyle too. And suits your lifestyle. So for me, I've enjoyed eating wholesome foods. So the less packaging for me, the better. I know some people are right on the if it fits your macros, which that gained a lot of traction and popularity a few years back, where I think it became a little bit of an excuse for a lot of people to, well, not necessarily an excuse, but those sort of people that felt really restricted on an intake that was more whole food based, it allowed them to be, I guess, a little more guilt free with their choices if they could include chocolates and this and that. The thing is with if it fits your macros, yes, it can work, but if you, like, your calories intakes, well, your calorie intake, I should say, sorry, is like a bank account. And if you spend all those dollars early on in the days on, like, say, some pancakes and a chocolate bar and that, you got to really budget for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Like, you're living on cents.
You're living budgeting on spreadsheets, man.
I think if you're going to make if it fits your macros work, you just got to be consciously aware of, hey, if you're going to have something, or if you really miss some chocolate, include it in there, but it's all in that smaller amount of moderation. So not to go off tangent too much. I personally find wholesome foods work best with me.
So what does your foods look like then? What would be like a day of yours eating, like when you're like sort of off season? And what would like a day of yours working on season? Maybe just to stimulate some like ideas.
Typically on season and off season fairly similar. I prioritise highest carbohydrate intake pre, during and post training. That's one tip I have found works the most for me. Peri-workout nutrition they call it, which is, I guess, the timing in and around your training. So getting those carbs pre, during and post, lean protein sources with every meal, and then my fats I'll typically have earlier on in the day. So my earlier meals will be typically protein and fats with some fibre as well. But then as the day progresses, I'm normally training mid-afternoon. So I'll go a moderate serving of carbs beforehand. I've tried going like quite high, and I find I almost can get that like that hypoglycemia where I get the big rise in blood sugar, but then if I don't time it correctly, I get that crash too. So just moderate beforehand, and then the carbs during and the carbs post are what I really find works for me.
So you're a little bit sensitive to carbs, but you have like the if you have like a massive load of them,
Yep.
Like, you just have like the normal amount that kind
and because I'm trying to gain weight at the moment,
yeah,
I'm having about 100 grams of carbs in my post-workout shake.
Yeah.
But the trouble is like, and I'll have 80 during.
Yeah.
I get that little bit of a crash afterwards. So in between the time that I try and allow my shake to digest, so it's about 40 to 45 grams of protein and about 100 grams of carbs in there.
Yeah.
And I have the creatine, the glutamine, colostrum in there as well. But
nice with the colostrum.
I'm a big fan. The trouble is, I get that. I do get a bit of a crash afterwards, about 30, 45 minutes after.
Do you mind though? At the moment, is it working in your routine? Like,
yeah, it is for sure. I was worried because I had the shake on the way here, and I'm thinking, man, I better not be dozing when Corey's chatting. So load up that coffee machine, right? But no, I do find it does help. And if I want to get leaner, the first thing I do is I will try and just remove mainly my accessory carbs. So the carbs that aren't pre, during, and post, I'll start to cut down and minimise.
Okay. So on off season, do you have carbs before, like in a morning breakfast meal, or is it more?
At the moment, because I'm trying to get in so many, they're pretty consistent with every meal.
Throughout the day.
Higher still, pre, during, and post, but I will have them with every meal at the moment.
Then like a small amount with every meal, and just load it up.
If I want to get leaner, all I'll do, I'll drop them out from breakfast and meal 2. Yep.
And how do you keep your fats?
Fats, I try and go about 1 gram per kilo of body weight.
Oh, okay, you just keep that consistent.
Yep, pretty consistent off season and when I'm getting leaner.
You just need them for overall.
Admittedly though, I am more, I guess, accountable and strict with my fat intake when I'm trying to get leaner, whereas in the off season, it is one macro I often forget. Where I'll have the carbs, no problems, but I might get to the end of the day and I think, man, I've only had like 1 serve of fats today, so I'll try and like drizzle some olive oil on the rice or something like that. I think because like in terms of a craving standpoint, it's not something I particularly enjoy.
Yeah.
And a lot of not really. Like,
I'm the opposite, I crave fats.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, like pre-comp, you dangle an almond paste teaspoon in front of me, like I'm like, I'm like a fish coming up in that thing, like, hook me, man. But I think because I'm so satiated in the off season, that craving isn't there.
Are you still doing cardio?
Oh, recreational. So things like the mountain biking, the motocross, my partner and I will go walking. Like that tends to be a weekend thing, but nothing calculated or regimented. That's for sure.
You're just having fun.
Yeah, and
making sure you're doing that though. That's one thing.
100%.
That's one thing that I didn't do like previous off seasons. I mean, whenever I was like doing stuff, I was like, man, I'm just not doing any cardio whatsoever. Like, I'm just training once a day and that is it. Man, I felt so sluggish.
And it actually, I feel like,
like a god.
And did your training improve as well?
Oh, 100%, man. Of course.
Every time.
All
and
the science is there for that as well.
The best example of that is leg day. My leg days get better, and I almost get stronger pre-comp when I add in a little bit of calculated cardio because I can just recover better between sets.
Oh, man.
So, like, my lactic threshold is higher, and, like, nowadays, because I'm rolling around a little bit heavier than what my body likes to be, mate,
you're looking fucking muscly at the moment, bro.
Puffy or like soggy like cereal, man. Anyway, it's admittedly, man, thank you very much, but I feel I operate better, probably 3 or 4 kilos less than this, but I'm really trying to gain weight at the moment. But man, you get me on like it's like you hit a top set on like a leg press or a squats, I am gassing for minutes afterwards, You're seeing double, and whereas in that pre-contest phase, when you are that little bit fitter, I honestly feel like my training output improves a little bit. So
I'm never not doing cardio again, I reckon.
I feel you.
Just add a little bit in. Like just this morning, played squash with the guys. Yesterday, went out mountain bike riding for like 2 hours.
And isn't that better than just staring at a treadmill? And this is one thing I want to do, like the next time I compete, I want to show that like you can still have fun with this stuff. So I had this idea in my head. I'm like, next time I'm going to compete, what I'm going to show is I'm going to buy a GoPro and I'm going to go out downhilling, and that can be my cardio. You know, like obviously there's a bit of a risk involved. And I'm not saying bikini girls go out and get a downhill bike and for your cardio start bombing some runs and hit some drops.
You just do the craziest runs, right? You just have fun on the fun track.
I'll
do
dangle a carrot in front of me. I'll probably still hit the big runs.
You're gonna buy it,
What I want to show people is that there are different ways and alternative methods rather than just staring at that treadmill or getting on the stepper and doing glute kickbacks. There are maybe not. Well, I would arguably say better ways, but whatever's going to be enjoyable for you, as you know, what you enjoy you stick to.
Yeah.
So if you're going to dread doing something and your coach has it programmed in there, maybe ask, is there an alternative method that we could do? If you hate the bike and you got bike intervals in there, you rather push a sled, which crazy person I don't know would say that, but
one of my friends would for sure.
Yeah, they are so good though. They are, in terms of results, they are so good, but it is like the demon, you know what I mean? The demon lawnmower, heavy ass.
And they're going to be in the hurt locker immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing I pride myself on is you should try and, at the end of the day, if you don't love it, you're not going to stick at it.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why I've been in this industry for so long is because I still allow myself to live a lifestyle that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And there are other things that I love just as much as bodybuilding, if not more. And that allows me to keep that passion in the gym.
Yeah. Like what?
Like I was saying to you before, Sundays, I would say it's my day at church, but my church is something outdoors.
Yeah.
So be it downhill mountain bike riding or motocross riding or whatever it is, like something that's going to fill up that bucket.
Yeah.
The adrenaline bucket is one of the main ones that, for me personally, helps me recharge for that week that's to come.
Yep.
But I love anything, man. I love, like, whether it be socialising with friends, going out on any sort of adventure, a road trip, nature. I love nature. I find that really, like, recenters me a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Exploring. Just trying to, like, juice this life we have in front of us for all it's worth.
Yeah.
And I think Georgie, my partner, she probably gets sick of this sometimes, but often she'll be like, oh, do you want to go for a walk with the dog? And I'm like, yeah, let's go try somewhere new. And I can tell the look she gives me every time.
Just the usual
can we do the new one? Instead, we end up like hiking across the waterfall, getting lost somewhere. She's like, is this another one of your shortcuts? And I'm like, just trust me, like, we'll find a way. And that's
where I'm going. I know exactly where I'm going.
That's my personality type. Is I love adventure. And I love trying new things.
Yeah.
So.
I love that.
Yeah,
what
I think.
What do you reckon would be like your 3 highest values then?
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
3 highest values.
Yeah.
In what I look for in myself, what I pride myself on, or
like your 3 most important things that Benny values.
If you could class this as a value, and this is just something that's been in the back of my mind since I was a kid, is, I guess, effort or reaching your full potential.
Yeah, effort.
And all my closest friends to me know this, that I use the word reaching your potential a lot, because I think, and prepare for the rabbit hole is, because this is where I'm going to go deep, I think the one thing we can do in this life that we've got given to us, like we've already won the lottery, but is to just have a crack at seeing how far you can take yourself. Whether that be in bodybuilding, whether that be in being the best accountant you can be, mowing the best lawn you can mow. Anyone that knows me, if I do something, I do it 100%. So, like, if I'm going to trim that hedge, you wait till you see this hedge. Like, that thing's going to be like an elephant, you know what I mean? Like, but I've always, just as a kid, and I think that's why I've been competitive, but I've just wanted the most out of myself. And that wasn't because I was in an environment where my mum and dad ever pushed me to do something. They were not like those parents that on the sideline, if I missed a footy goal, that I'd get a speaking to in the car. Just like, nothing like that. They just want to see me do what I want to do.
Oh man, that is so blessed.
So I just had this sense of like self-motivation, just intrinsically wired in my brain from a youngster.
Because you got to choose what you wanted to do
and I just wanted to see how good I could get at something. So whether that be, you know, in the gym, whether that be cross country, whatever it is, I just wanted to try and be the best I could be at it. So that is probably my number one value that has been, I guess, the nucleus of my life. Using big terms here, man. It's scientific. I didn't even do biology in high school. But to me, that's how I try and live my life every day. Is, like we were talking about before, how could I just be a little bit better today than I was yesterday? In whatever that may be. In my eating, in my relationship, in my work. So that would be my first one. The next 2 or 3, like you could, all of these are going to be pretty evenly distributed in my mind. But
next 2 mostly for you that first come up for sure.
Probably connection.
Yeah.
And I think that's a broad one, which is a bit of an umbrella. But in that, I think would be friendships, family, your significant other, the love you share for these 3 groups, and the connection that you have with them. I just love to connect with people, be it, like this, having a good sit-down chat over a coffee.
Yeah.
Be it you catch up with a mate at the gym that you haven't seen for a while. Like, I love connecting with people. I love making people smile. I love laughing.
Every time I've seen you in the gym, bro, you've always had the best energy, and you've always give the best
thanks, man.
So I really appreciate. I can really see how that's a high value of yours for sure.
So I think that connection umbrella, that sort of ties in a few other values, but that would be just, I think, love and relationships.
Yeah.
And when I say relationship, yes, with a significant other, but family and friends as well.
With yourself.
Yeah, and with yourself. The third one, I think integrity as well, which is, I try and pride myself on being, displaying integrity. Yeah. So if I say I'm going to do something, doing it. Yeah. And then that sort of ties in with like leading by example. Mm-hmm. So I'm never going to make a client do something that I wouldn't put myself through first. Mm-hmm. And like the fruitful words that my clients call me during training, like if I'm getting called to CUNT at 6:30 a.m. on a Monday morning, I'm like, keep feeding my ears, man. Like, I love that. But I'm only pushing them to get the most out of themselves, like I demand from myself as well.
For sure.
So, and you could ask anyone that see me in the gym train, when I train, I try and lead by that example. Yeah. And I want to try and, like I was saying before, what is my potential? Well, only I can find that out. And if I think I can get 15 reps and I'm on, rep 12 and I get to 15, I think, hang on, I've got a couple more in me. You best believe, like, I'm going for that couple more. And I've had my fair share of injuries and maybe learnt things the hard way. Yeah. But I think that integrity and just trying to, I guess, leadership as well, that kind of ties in with that too. I would love to one day go down the career path of maybe some sort of more of a leadership role, even though I do that currently with my clients, but I'm not going to try and go for Prime Minister or anything like that.
That's going to lead into my next question, man. I was going to say, well, all of these things and your current values at the moment, what would be like your most important goal?
I think I would love to compete again.
Yeah.
Because, again, going back to that word potential, I know I've got more to give there.
Yeah.
And
you feel your best when you're competing, man. Everything's working.
You get clarity, mate. Your your bullshit radar you get laser-like focus. You really work out your priorities in life, and I kind of crave that a bit when in a competition prep because I do love it.
Yeah, I feel like I can really bring my best self out
100%
in a competition prep, and whenever it's like whenever I'm crushing my competition prep, everywhere else in my life. It's also like crushing it as well. I'm just bringing
100%.
My best energy, my best self. So even if it was, talking before, like you want to be your best self when you traveled, and that's why you diet to get lean. So for an example, if I was going for like a big job or something like that, I would honestly be like, all right, I'm gonna like dive in for a competition prep here. I'm gonna make sure that my health is prioritized, my fitness is prioritized, my nutrition is prioritized. I'm a little bit of a deficit because I know my mind's going to be working better because I'm not focusing on digestion all the time.
Yeah. I hear that.
I'm going to fucking crush this.
Yep. No, that's a big one. Yeah. I'm glad we've gone down this rabbit hole because I couldn't agree more with you. And I think you just get clear.
Oh, yeah.
You get clear. Values, morals, your goals. And that clarity is something that you wake up each and every day purposeful.
Yeah.
And I think when we're not in that competition prep, especially, we were talking about before, us guys, we get a little bit shiny object syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
And you can get pulled, and, like, you can sometimes be a little bit of a leaf in the breeze. Like, you can get pulled in these different directions, which might not actually align to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But you think at the time it might. Yeah. And then the distractions come in. And then all of a sudden, I feel most disappointed with myself when I'm not working towards a goal and when I am distracted.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why that contest prep, it just brings, again, not to repeat myself, that clarity into your life.
Oh, for sure.
Except for the last, say, 4 weeks or so.
Yeah.
The dark zone.
Except for when you get
the first part's a breeze.
Everyone else get fucked. This is the hard bit. All I'm thinking about is food and training.
Yep.
That's it.
You're dragging your feet.
That's it.
It's you get to that stage where
you get like ridiculously shredded. Like, guys, if you haven't
Thanks,
seen Benny,
man.
honestly, go onto his Instagram and just have a look. There's Benny Wortley. You go on his Instagram and just like scroll down a little bit, and you will see like the most shredded, striated glutes.
Thanks, mate.
Ever gonna see.
I do appreciate it. Maybe that's from the twerking.
Serratus under here, just boo 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 boo. So
No, thank you, man. It's just a shame that when you get to that stage, you feel your worst.
Oh yeah, it's a shame when you get to that stage, and then the week after though.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the polarity of the sport, which is so different to every other sport, which is when you are performing what your grand final is or your game day, you are physically at your weakest and probably mentally at your weakest, most vulnerable as well. But you're presenting a package that looks the complete opposite of that. Like you're trying to look like an Adonis.
Right.
Yeah, you can fight your way out of a wet paper bag. You know what I mean? Like, and stuff happens at that stage where, as you know, it messes with your hormones and like. I don't know how far the rabbit hole you want to go down with the hormone side of things, but like you feel less of a man. You know, you just you miss that bounce in your step.
How's yours been? How have your hormones been for your competing? Have you been alright? Bounce back good every time? Or?
Yeah, pretty good for the most part. Like,
how do you do it?
I think when you're younger, you, as with anything in life, man, you get an injury, you recover fast. And I'm trying to sound old now, but I'm 31, turning 32 this year. When
baby bro.
Those teenage junior years, like, you bounce back fast after the comps. The last time I competed in 2017, it was a little bit longer.
But you were like, that was the most dice you've ever been, surely.
Well, the hardest part was the fact that I had to hold that condition from the first show was ICNSA, and that was in like September. The last show I did was 2 months later, man. So I had to hold that condition for 8 weeks. It was 8 or 9 weeks. And when I got to that last show in Boston, I think I'd been dieting for like 6 and a bit months.
Ooh.
Which was like, that is, obviously it's a huge chunky year, but you start to forget what normal life is like. And I say that like in brackets, like normal life, which is different for everyone.
You do forget. But you think it's only actually a short amount of time, like 6 months, short amount of time, because like the first 3 months, 6 months, where you're going to be optimized.
But even like, just everything about that, like I was saying before, about that feeling of being a man. Like, definitely, in the off season, I'm at that stage where I'm sick of eating, but I love the feeling of, you still feel like you've got a bit of testosterone in your body, and you've got that mojo in you. Whereas you get pre-comp,
you feel like you have charisma.
I'm much funnier, my jokes are better, I'm sure Georgie appreciates it more, but like you get to that. That pre-comp phase, and man, it just milks you for all you're worth. But you've got to go to that dark place if you want to get that sort of condition. So it does take a little bit longer nowadays, and I think next time I do compete, whenever that is, I try and get better and better each time with my knowledge as well. So how can I do it better next time? And just trying to maybe bounce back that a little bit faster as well. So I think it's, again, with everything, like, knowledge is power. So as long as you do things the right way, you should be able to recover and bounce back.
Sure. So just coming back to it, when we're going back to Benny's most important goal right now. So you're saying competing is one.
I wouldn't say that's my top one.
I said, that was one of the things that will contribute.
That I would like to have another crack at. But I think for now, my partner and I, we bought a house last year. Life changes, and I think COVID's taught us that as well,
for sure.
where priorities change. I really enjoyed last year. I think the time off and slowing down in life helped me immensely, because I'm a super go guy. 100%. And
like,
so my mind is going, my body's physically going. I kind of, it's oddly enough, I feel most at peace when I'm like that too. And George and I are quite different. Like, even we went down to the beach, and this is going back about probably 18 months ago or so, and she's like, we should go down to the beach after work one night. And I was like, right, cool, let's go to the beach. So anyway, we go down to the beach, we lay down the towel, she's cut up some watermelon and stuff, and like we've had a few bites of the watermelon, I'm laying there, and then like I sort of look up at her, and it's like we're probably 5 minutes in, and I'm thinking like, what else are we going to do here? And then so like I've tried to act cool,
just like super masculine.
I've switched over, I've laid on my stomach. And then I'm like,
fuck,
how long are we going to be down here for? And so I've gone like, run down in the water, jumped in, come out like Daniel Craig, like James Bond, Baywatch scene or something, run up to the tower, and then I'm like, how long are we going to do this for? She's like, can't you just relax? And I said,
10 minutes.
She's like, this is beaching. And I'm like, oh, so this is beaching. Like, I don't know if I'm made for beaching. Like, let's play volleyball or something like that. So it's, I'm always go like that. But I like it. But I think
you found a partner that can like hold you back. Because obviously, yes, that one part of you has helped you absolutely crush it, helps you achieve all these big things. It's like definitely a personality type. But if you're going too much of that way, then obviously negative stuff's going to happen.
And all the rest. So
you're so blessed to have a partner that can just grab the rope and be like, no, we are beaching.
Yeah,
we are just
correct.
hanging out.
100%.
Because you'd probably need it way more than what you think mentally and physically.
So during COVID, it kind of forced us all to do that in some way or another. So I think it allowed me to realign with myself a little bit more and slow down. So my goals at the moment are, again, I just want to become better.
Yeah.
Be it, in what I do, in my work, and who I show up as every day, financially, be a better partner. Yeah. So these are all amongst my goals. Yeah. So I haven't written down these specifically, but these are the first ones that come to my mind. Yeah, so competing's a bit of an icing on the cake.
Be better.
And I think I have that underlying itch there because I know I've got more to give. Yeah. But it's not my main focus anymore. Yeah. And I train day in, day out like I'm going to compete. Yeah. But I enjoy the other things in life as well.
What's blessed about that as well is because you have had all of that conditioning, you've gone through all the crazy comps, you've done so many, you've got all this knowledge, like just internal, you said before, an extrinsic motivation. You already know how to push yourself like crazy. You already know how to do, diet properly. You know how to get ready for a show. Like some people don't even know how to like push themselves like that. So that's just ingrained in you, man. So like it's a great skill to have and a great skill to build. And like I find that like I'd encourage people to actually try and learn that skill because you can just get in there and do it and focus on other things at the same time, and it's not going to zap all of you. Like you don't have to make new brain connections to push yourself as hard as possible. You just got to say, I'm getting it done.
And I think that's the cool thing about getting involved in something like bodybuilding is what it teaches you.
Oh yeah, so
like things like discipline.
Yeah.
Even that and the carry-on effects it has into all other facets of life. Right. If you can commit yourself to doing a competition and stick on that diet and get up for those early morning cardios when your alarm's going off, all those little wins add up. Yeah. And they build they build that armor up. Yeah. And then when it comes time to say comps are all said and done, and then you're going for that job interview. Yeah. Like you are prepared to do the work. You're like, right, I'm going to do the background work on this company. Like I'm willing to do everything it takes to ensure my best chances of success at getting this job. So that's one thing I really take away from the sport is how it's contributed to the other aspects and avenues of my life.
What are some other things? Because I love this conversation. Having it in terms of I compete, a bodybuilder, really prioritising my health, my nutrition, sleep, all these different things. And yes, discipline is one of the side effects from that. Have you found anything else that you've been like, man, I'm so lucky that I learnt the skill of training hard, discipline, consistency, all these different things? Has that shown up anywhere else?
I think definitely, even in what I do as my day-to-day job, being a personal trainer. And to be a PT, obviously you have to work some semi-unusual hours where you are typically busiest when people are not at work. So then when 90% of the world is at work, you're often more quiet or like, so in terms of the early starts, the late finishes at night. But because of the discipline I think that the bodybuilding has taught me, I just know, right, like for me to do what I need to do, I have to be up that time every morning. I've got to stay back and finish that late every night. So I think it's transferred into those, even like my career. I'm prepared to do the work.
How about relationships? Has it helped you in your relationships at all? Obviously, I'm not saying the 4 weeks before the comps.
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of like relationships and, well, one of the words that comes to my mind is perseverance. Okay. And like just having the strength and not to quit on things when things get tough and when you're faced with challenges, not just to throw the towel in. And this is something that I've learned a lot and persevered with. And it's like having that ability to ride out the storms. And if things were easy, they wouldn't be worth it. 100%. And I'm a big believer in that. And I'm in a great relationship and it's as with all relationships, it's had its ups and downs. But I think what we pride ourselves on is working through those times. Whereas, it would have been easier to let it go.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like anything, like getting to the stage. If you really want that reward at the end, you got to be prepared to sacrifice.
You got to deal with the pain.
Persevere.
Yeah.
Deal with some pain.
Yeah.
But then, the final outcome, that's what makes it bittersweet.
Yeah. You know how to deal, like those 4 weeks before for a comp that's that dark zone, because you've experienced that, you're now like desensitized to when other things also get into a dark side.
Yep.
Be that emotional, be that mental, be that something else. Because I do recognize, like sometimes, like even I'm just giving some of my friends advice, I'm like, dude, just do this. But even though just even saying that, you're like, that's actually hard.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to focus.
Easier said than done.
And be held accountable and be extremely disciplined for that shorter period of time to solve that problem. So,
100%. And I think that's something that probably you and I have in common as well.
Yeah.
It's like, because we've been through those dark phases of the comps and...
You a lot more than me, man.
Oh, no, you've done it too, mate.
I've done a few, and I'm looking forward to the next ones for sure.
When is it? So, not to switch roles of the interviewer becoming the interviewee. When do you think you'll compete again next?
I'm going October.
Oh,
this year.
Awesome.
So I tried something new this time. So what I did was basically I wanted to go to Worlds for WBFF in 2020.
Yep.
And obviously it was a lost year, right? So we got locked down, and it was a great experience because I started the podcast, started my business stuff, and just dived deep into that whole
So a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
It's an absolute blessing in disguise, and I've made some of the best connections in my life, and I've made some of this crazy transformational personal stuff. Fucking love life at the moment. And then this year I was like, well, I'll just compete in Worlds this year, but everything's still locked down.
I love the casualness. Yeah, Worlds,
well, I really want to go experience it.
100%.
I've just gone pro, so I want to go experience what the best of the best are doing.
Yep.
Then I've got something to benchmark against. So I want to be around the people that are the best in the world, so I can get exposed, see what they're benchmarking, see what their vibes are like,
100%.
Talk to them, see what their routines are like, and then get that massive motivation to come back, however many years it is, and crush it. Like, that's the goal. But this year I'm going to go October. But I essentially had the last year off, put on the COVID kilos, which was great, right? Put on the COVID kilos. I like that. Put on the COVID kilos. And then, I was like, well, I'm not going to compete. Like, it's been a while since I've competed, so I need something to hold me accountable, get lean. Just so I don't have to diet again for 6-7 months, because it takes me a while. My body doesn't naturally like sitting lean, because I probably don't do any cardio and I like eating too much. It's one thing to keep mindful of. I'm going to keep riding bikes every weekend. Right?
This is going to go global, man. You watch.
Everyone's just mountain biking.
We're going to start an ebook, Corey and Benny's guide to getting lean.
Bikes and biceps.
Oh, okay. I feel that.
So I did I wanted to actually essentially diet and peak on New Year's, and just be like, I'll get shredded for New Year's. I didn't
awesome, man. Did you have like a boat party or something to go to? You're just going to be like...
No, I didn't even. It was like...
Captain Shreds reporting for duty.
No, I did nothing. I did like a mushy trip by myself, and then... That
is awesome.
I went I need to get some clear on some stuff for the next year, and then saw some of my good friends, and we just hung out. It was great. And then I didn't even really start properly dieting until January, and then I was like, alright, end of January I'll diet.
So you're currently in dieting phase?
I was, and then I had a photo shoot a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I'm just not going to stick to it, so I was like, I've got to book myself in something to keep me accountable. So then I'm like, I've got this date, I've paid this cash, I'm going to get
How'd you go with it?
Calvin
Klein?
Calvin Klein, was it? Calvin Klein. It was a good friend of mine, because...
It could be Calvin Klein,
I get people ask for modelling jobs and stuff every now and then, and I'm like, I really can't be bothered. I'd rather just have...
Mate, that's a credit to you, man. No one's ever asked me for a modelling job. Maybe that's why I'm doing bodybuilding. Your face is a judge.
But a lot of the time, anyone, I guess that's, if you're lifting, you're a media, constantly posting stuff, people reach out every now and then, get into your DMs. Hey, what's up? Sending you a pitch. And, so I was like, no, because I want to get good photos that I really like. I'm going to pay for someone, and I want the accountability, so I'm definitely going to get someone that I like their photos. I'm going to get that done. So got that sorted, had the photo shoot. I'm like, cool. So now I'm essentially just going to have a month off, really enjoy that, and then slowly get back into it for October. Because I don't want to I want to be having a couple of nights where I just don't have to decide do whatever, do a little bit of travelling.
It's good to have those up your sleeve as well.
Airport chicken hangs in the microwave.
Oh, Corey, you're in here. What's going on, man?
And then get really crisp for October.
Where are they having that?
Gold Coast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the WBF always do. They do twice a year Gold Coast, once a year Sydney. Yeah. But I think the only pro show is in October. Mm-hmm. Like once a year. I'm pretty
That's
sure.
great. It gives me enough time to get Corey t-shirts made up anyway. So. yeah.
What about you? When are you going to compete next?
See what happens with the international travel. Like, I was the same as you. I wanted to go 2020, and then with everything that happened, obviously that sort of like not gave up on that idea. I don't like to use that word as such, but my priorities changed. Yeah. And then this year, it was potentially the goal as well. Yeah. But just depending on what happens, because there is one ICM Pro show in Brisbane. Yeah. That being said, I don't know if I'm prepared to go on the Hurt Locker again just for one show. I'd rather do that and then maybe a couple overseas again. I did see one get announced yesterday. The WMBF is in Las Vegas, November 20. Mm-hmm. But just on that, I've been into this new series called Drive to Survive. You seen this one?
No, I haven't.
Formula One's, man. Oh,
yeah, I've seen.
I'm an expert now.
Like,
I am an expert now. And anyway,
Formula One.
Well, dream job, seriously. Yeah. I don't know if it's too late, but I'm probably the right height for it. But anyway, Formula One's coming to Melbourne, same weekend as the Las Vegas Pro Show. Okay. So I'm like, man, I must admit, this balance in my life is maybe getting a bit too much like this. I'm like, do I go to Formula One's in Melbourne or do I go compete overseas? But admittedly, man, if the borders do open, it's not going to be a process of quarantining for 2 weeks once we get back. I'd go this year. Cool. So... Yeah, it's one of those... Yeah, at the moment I'm in a phase where I'm still trying to gain weight. So I would need to pull the trigger like late May. Mm-hmm. So I could always do that, and then hopefully by then we got some more answers.
Cool. So what's your training like as well? Because one thing we haven't talked about is training, man.
Yep.
You would have... How many years have you been training for now? Like
since 2007. So what have we got? Is that 14? Maybe?
You've been training hard. Like you competed like.
I feel like I should look better for 14 years now. Dude. It's a long time. That's like a teenager's life, you know. Imagine if I focused, dude. It's a teenager's life. Imagine if I did table tennis for 14 years.
Yeah, but you'd be like.
I'll be hoped to be on like to see those YouTube rallies for like 4 minutes where they're 5 meters behind the table. But yeah, so it's been a long time, and I've tried for most of my life. It has been fairly intuitive. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean I'm not necessarily going in there with a written down, 5 sets back squats at XYZ reps and weight and load and so forth. Always had a visual plan in my mind on the movements I want to do. Yeah. But also not being so inflexible that if you are dying to get on, say, a plate loaded chest press, that you can't just go, instead I'll do a flat chest press with dumbbells. So I've always had that little bit of flexibility there. In terms of my methods, I do like training to failure. Hey, whether or not that's worked for me or against me over the years, I think probably a combination of both.
What do you think works best for you, that when you reflect on, you're like, man, that was like...
I have found when most people train with me, if I train with a mate or if we linked up a session...
Yeah, I'd love to link up a session.
It's going to happen. Right, it's going to happen. Most of the people would say similar feedback, that the intensity is high and more so just the density of the workout. So more so including things like your drop sets, supersets, just keeping it to a workout. Yeah. Not I must admit, I really struggle to... get those big 3-4 minute rests in there, and some movements you have to, I get that, say your back squats or whatever, but I want to come out of there sweating. I want to come out of there like, man, we crushed that. And so my, I guess, philosophy, if I was going to summarize it in terms of training, I think you got to be calculated. I think you got to be smart, but also you got to be willing to push through the pain barriers too. Like, I think it was Muhammad Ali said that quote, I don't start counting until it hurts. And I try and really utilize, just, you hear quotes, and I look up to people that have been the best of their fields over the years, and they all say the same thing, man. Like, whether it's Kobe, Jordan, whoever, like, you got to do the work. You got to be prepared to put in those yards, and it is going to feel uncomfortable. It is going to hurt. But that's also what is like a bit sadistic about it, that it is addictive and rewarding, So
that's that warrior archetype, man, that you have just embraced.
And if you crush that workout, then if you've got 15 emails in your inbox, you're like, you should see what I squatted. I got these emails, man. Come on, give me 20 emails. I can do this. So I think, I like to go in there, and again, relating back to that, reaching my potential, I try not to leave a stone unturned. And we all have those days where you go in and shit feels heavier than what it normally does, or you're dragging your feet in on the way in.
All you need to do is talk to Lee about salt about that, and he'll sort you out. You shouldn't have no feet dragging if your electrolytes are sorted. He'll tell you about it.
And I'm sure you've had these as well, where some of those days where you're driving to the gym and you're questioning it in your head.
Oh man!
But then, have you had those awesome sessions those times as well?
The best ones, man. Dude, I used to go to the gym. This is before I started learning the stuff about. Like, this might be interesting. It's like DNA, super prioritizing health, learning about taking blood tests, Dutch tests, hormones, all these different things, digestion, being extremely specific, extremely focusing on sleep. Dude, I used to walk up to the gyms, park my car, put on the thing, have a nap for like 15 minutes in my car, and then be like, and then drag myself out and get to the
Are you like a
gym.
Pre-workout type guy?
Not anymore, man.
Okay.
I do not take any pre-workout, like hardly ever. If I'm training in the morning, coffee. Otherwise,
I was going to say,
after 11.
if I'd driven to the gym and I had a pre-workout, mate, I ain't having a nap for a week. You know what I mean?
I couldn't, because if I did that, I would get fuck all sleep.
Oh, so you're a later evening train. Totally get that.
Catch you later.
So then that whole theory of, it's the recovery that counts goes out the window. And I hear you.
So I had to be extremely focused, so I get it. Like those times, and I'd be like, I'm napping, and I'd get to the gym like, this is so fucked. I don't
Are you using like tyrosine or alpha GPC or anything?
At that time, I was probably using quite a few things at that time, and I would use it to get there. This is not the moment. I don't suffer from this at all. But it was, I remember experiencing it, and then I'd still get to the gym. As soon as the blood starts moving, God, I feel fantastic. The other times I've almost bailed, and I've just got enough to have a nap beforehand. It was crazy at the time. That was just like way too much stress. Diet was not suited to my DNA type or anything like that. After learning everything, finding a bunch of hacks, health hacks and performance hacks and blah, 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 using this other stuff, turning it all around, now I don't need anything. And I just feel great all the time. Like the days that I'm super, super tired, I'm like, because I'm like intuitive with everything, when I am really tired, I'm like, no, you need to rest. This isn't like time that you need. This isn't you just like, having a nap because ate too much for lunch. This is like,
I hear that, man. That's one thing. If and when it happens, my next contest prep. I remember last time I prepped. No word of a lie. I didn't have a rest day from Anzac Day, which was like April 26th or something, until I finished November 18th. apart from the days. Bro. So obviously I wouldn't train the day before a comp. And the comp day. But apart from those two, I went the whole way through. And
and cardio and everything.
Yeah, I only did that 4 weeks out for the first comp, which was some sleds. Okay, ironically, we were talking about that before. But then after I did it before the first state show, I never did it again. I sort of got myself to that level, and then I tried some different things. I was weight training twice a day some days just to increase the burn a little bit. But, man, honestly, no word of a lie, I went through that whole stretch, apart from the comp days and the day before comp days, without a rest. And I look back at it now, and whether or not that was driven by you've got that little voice in your head, that ego that's like, no, I'm gonna outwork all these other guys. If I'm outworking them, then I'm gonna be better. But admittedly now I'm smarter, wiser, and a little bit older.
I'm out-rest all you bitches.
You guys are sleeping 8 hours. I'm sleeping 9. And I'm gonna do some yoga. And I breathe through my nose for the whole day. What you guys got, man?
I'm breathing through my nose the whole damn day. I bet you guys, when you talk, you breathe through your mouth.
Not me. That's right. So I think this time around, and it should see better results too. I'm excited to try it. I've got an Oura ring on the way.
Oh, nice. What do you so as far as like training goes, what do you think your favourite split has ever been? Just to give
this is a good one. I'm pretty old school bodybuilder style, where muscle group a day type thing. So back when I first started, it was like, you got your chest day Mondays. I think back then it might have been like back day Tuesdays, leg day Wednesdays, shoulders Thursdays, and end of the week, you know what it is, right? Arm day. Of course. T-shirt fillers. So I used that for years, man. Years. And you can get results from it. Obviously, like most of the great bodybuilders of our time have done it. But now I am more of a split where I prioritise my training for symmetry and to balance my physique out. So I'll do legs twice a week, chest twice a week. And then shoulders and back will be once a week. And then arms I'll throw in either, say, triceps the end of back, or I'll do like biceps the end of shoulders.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then calves are one of those things where you're like, you got 15 minutes, you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to do some calves. And then I'll do the calves, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to start training this 3 days a week. Let's see how big I can get these things. And then what happens is it's been a week and a half later, you're like, man, I haven't done calves again since that last time. Are you like that with calves?
I used to be so much, but this year I've been like, nah, I'm
okay, we're going to be calf accountability buddies.
Yeah, we're going to be calf accountability.
Every time you train them, send me a photo and I'll do the same to you. Competition now. Now you've got me going, it's competition.
Yeah, so I kind of do, every time I train, I'm doing abs or calves. Mainly training abs, not for the aesthetic points, because I'm just like, get lean, I come out. I'm very kind of lazy like that. But for me personally, just with injuries and a bunch of other things, if I'm strengthening my core, making sure my diaphragm's strong, everything else sort of works a lot better.
Yeah,
injuries go away.
I hear that.
I need to be training core so hard.
Yeah.
And it's so weak. I literally remember, this wasn't even, what was that? Probably 4 years ago. I had a physio, I went to a physio for about like my knee. And this small girl, she'd been in her early 20s, very petite. And she was like, just doing a couple of these tests. And she's like, all right, do a sit-up. And I like went to sit up. She was like, bush.
Yeah.
And she's like, do it again. She's like, bush. She was like, yeah, your core is so weak. I was like, oh no, like she was pushing down so easy, bro. Yeah. She emasculated me with like 2 pushes down.
I know for a fact I need to do more core.
Man.
Sometimes with a client, I'll show a hanging leg raise. I'm like twitching like I got Parkinson's still in that thing, you know? Like, and you're trying to, again, lead by example, but I know I have to do more core as well. But I think it's hard because you get in that mindset where you're like, no, everyone says abs are made in the kitchen. So I'm going to make those things in the kitchen,
But they're just so
with a few hanging leg raises here and there.
It's just like you wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Yep. So
you
that's...
wouldn't train biceps without training triceps, you know, within your body.
Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like your core supports your whole body. So I'm like, well, I've got to prioritise.
No, I feel you.
And then same with calves, so either workout, I'm jumping in and doing core first, or I'm doing calves first.
Yeah,
like
and it's good doing it first because you do it, don't you?
My calves have not grown at all.
No, they're right. No, I didn't see that.
There, man.
There's a vein in there.
They're real tight, there's a vein in there, they're a little bit vein.
Mate, you give those things a wax, they'll look like diamonds.
But nah, man, it's just been like, it's one of those things that's been like, God damn it, would you just go? But at the same time, you know, my calf workouts, nothing crazy. I'm doing like, probably 5-6 sets a workout, but I figured out like during the week, you know, I'm roughly getting in like 20 plus.
I get that thing with calves though, where after I've done that many, I can't really feel them contract that good anymore.
I can't much after 5.
Yeah,
I'm done. Like,
I'm sort of like that with biceps.
Biceps as well.
Yep, you're the same?
Yeah. Literally, I swear to God, sometimes either with biceps or calves, I'm just aiming for that one set where I can't do anymore like after that. And it just takes just build up. Sometimes it's like 3rd set in, other times like 6th, 7th set in.
Yep.
But I've noticed that.
There's a point of diminishing returns for sure.
Oh, big time. And I've also found with calves, I need to be training my tibia because my calves are going to grow because my tibia is super weak. So like the front.
Okay, yeah.
So at the moment, I'm like getting on reverse on the calf machine and like lifting my heels up like okay. Trying to get these stronger so that my calves can get bigger because then they're going to be stronger. So at the moment. I'm super focused on that because I've got bunions, so I need to be careful with my feet. So okay. I've got to train the shit out my tibia.
Yeah, nice, man.
No, that's cool. So what do you think would be your biggest motivation to stick to all of this stuff?
I think ultimately, in terms of motivation, you can look externally for things, but ultimately, it's got to come from within.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm trying to motivate myself to wash the dishes, if I just genuinely, me as a person, don't like washing the dishes, it's not going to come organically. Yeah. So you got to be relevant to your passion.
How do you fight those demons, man?
Washing the dishes, man. Dishwasher or hey Georgie? Nah, I think ultimately, if you are passionate about and you are truly passionate about it, and it is your calling, the term motivation, it almost becomes instilled in you. Like, and there's going to be times where you don't enjoy it, and that comes back to again those values of integrity and trying to reach that full potential. They drag you through those tougher times. But if I was to say external sources of motivation, you're going to look to the greats. Like anyone who's been there and done it before, you can save yourself some of the time and pain by, I guess, shortcutting things a little bit and hearing from their wisdom. So I've looked up to bodybuilders over the years, athletes in general. I appreciate anyone that has just absolutely become elite at their field. Like be it, for example, it could be someone like Nick Jones, who was, admittedly, he was one of my first, and still is, biggest and most positive influences I've had. And I look at him, and a lot of people say I'm kind of similar to him, and I'm not trying to be like him. I'm not trying to be a second-hand version of him. But I think, again, like attracts like, and he's a guy with a big personality, and he's got plenty of balance, and he loves his family and what he's done with his business as well. So I've found him extremely motivating. But then I remember even as a youngster getting a Ronnie Coleman DVD. And I'm looking at this guy. Yeah, buddy! Love it, baby! I got all my uni friends saying that. None of those guys had ever looked into bodybuilding.
Before an exam?
Yeah, like, love it, baby! You got this! So... yeah, even I've tried looking to different people for motivation as well, which can be an external source, but ultimately I've had that in me from a kid. So I've been fortunate enough that I don't have to really push myself to do these things. They kind of unfold organically.
And you know what you love, and you're like, obviously you've got all the skills and stuff towards to get that. And a lot of people like find it really hard to get to that position, to even find what they're purpose for, or even find what fills them up. So, like, it's just a great position that you've put yourself in. So, yeah, we respect that. Also, another question while we're here is I want to know, what do you think is, like, some of the things that have worked for you that has helped you get super lean? Because your conditioning is world-class, straight up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. I would say...
world-class, so, like...
it's a combination of things. Prior to starting resistance training, like, I was a lean, small kid with, like, abs. So it looked kind of funny because I had quite a developed core. My abs were further, they would extend further than my pecs. Like, my mates used to give me shit about this when I was younger. Like, and so I had I think from being so active, I've thought about this, and if, people obviously say there's, of course, genetics that come into this.
Yeah, of course.
But I'll show you a photo of my mum and dad after this. Well, I was going to say they weren't like elite athletes. My dad will tell you he was, like, with his baseball ribbons and all this from primary school. But ultimately, I think it's got to have something to do with me being so active from a kid. That my metabolic rate is firing. And I combine that with my just sheer desire and relentlessness to do well. Like, I'll do what it takes. So... when it comes to training, or if I know that, my condition isn't on point. I remember last time when I was prepping, and it's never happened to me before, when I've said I'm going to do a comp and the thought about pulling out, I've never had it happen to me until the last time I prepped. And it was about 4 weeks out, and my legs just weren't really coming in. And I was sort of like waist up ready from about maybe 8-10 weeks out.
Interesting.
And then I was like, man, what is going on with my legs? And I think it was a combination of that, doing them twice a week. And I just couldn't work it out. Like, I just was not as conditioned as what I should have been in my lower body.
They came in.
I started doing some sleds as well. And, like, whether or not it was placebo effect, using your legs more often throughout the week, and the demands that the sleds require on your legs. But each and every week they just started to dial in a little bit more. So I only used that cardio for the final 4 weeks of my initial prep to the state show. And then from there, I implemented some twice a day training. Again, just to get my output up a little bit. But because my body is quite sensitive to getting leaner, but also losing muscle tissue, I have to find that fine balance for me. And I'm fortunate that I can get leaner, but also for me, my biggest, hurdle, especially now being pro, is size. And when you go pro at this level and you go away to America and you see some of these guys, man, it's like they are phenomenal athletes. So I have to come in ultra peeled to hang with these dudes. Because you know what it's like the lean you are, the kind of bigger you look, as absurd as that sounds. So I have to come in as conditioned as I do to like stand a chance against these guys. So again, it comes down to that relentlessness to do whatever it takes. Like, if I'm not conditioned, I will burn more and I will push more. But I've always kept my intake relatively high. I find personally, calories just coming in. So I find personally that I would rather keep my food intake higher and burn a bit more, and my body looks better like that than if I was just to pull calories and not necessarily add in any more output.
Do you do anything else as well in terms of, like, timing, nutrition, protein stuff? Was it mainly just what you said beforehand? You just give carbs around
the carb timing, and then even distribution of the protein across the 5 meals, really. Yeah, I find 5 works well with me. Back when I first started, 6 was a popular number. We all did it. And like, if you and I call it the golden days, but like, it was sort of around the 08, 09. If we were all prepping, right, we would be like eating the same thing, where meal 1 was oats and egg whites. Then your next 2 or 3 meals had either brown rice in them or sweet potato.
Oh, God.
And then you'd have broccoli with every meal. And then if you're getting creative, you might have a chicken breast meal, a kangaroo meal, back to chicken breast.
Yeah, man, I don't eat chicken anymore.
Well, then what end up happening, right, you might have 220 grams of chicken, but you're a bit bigger than me. So I'd be like, right, well, I have 200 grams of chicken. But we would all eat the same thing. Yeah. So back then, it was like, even if you trained in the evening, your carbs would stop at lunchtime, because that's what you'd do. You'd have your first 3 meals of carbs, because carbs after lunch, like, they can be stored as fat.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You read into these myths and you buy into them, but now, I think the biggest thing, if it was passing advice on anyone else for what has worked for me, time those carbohydrates pre, during, and post. Definitely keep them in post, in my opinion, for the recovery and the muscle growth response and the insulin spikes, so you get the increased uptake of your aminos, etc., etc. And I would start pulling your accessory carbs. So the carbs that don't serve the purpose of pre, during, or post training, I would start to either minimize or cut those out. Keep a steady intake of protein throughout your daily intake. You know, you read different things of, you've got that optimal amount that you can digest and absorb, which is like 40 or 42 grams per meal. But, you know, if I'm sitting here next to Lee Ryan, of course he's going to absorb more than me. Like, the guy's twice my size. He'll eat me for a meal, you know. But so it's it's got to be, I think, individual dependent. So you got to be aware of that and just use some smarts with it. So I'm not going to try and eat the same amount of protein as Jay Cutler. So I think even distribution of your protein throughout the day and plenty of fibre. Too many people that I cross paths with that are doing contest prep don't eat enough salad or veg.
Where do you get your fibre from?
Any sort of roughage, like any sort of mixed vegetables. I love salads, man. So I eat heaps of that in pre-contest prep. Admittedly, in off-season, because I'm trying to get in the other macros, because I'm so full, that's my last priority on the plate. Pre-contest, man, I'm loading that thing up first. The size of my meals pre-comp are definitely bigger than they are in the off-season, comparatively. But I find just the effect that has on your metabolic rate, and some people call this pro-science, but you think about it, you got a bowl of salad, your body's got to break that down and digest it, so that's going to expend calories doing that versus a bowl of oatmeal, which is, you know, semi-digested just about. So I think that's a big thing as well. People need to prioritize their fibre intake, especially when they're trying to get lean.
I absolutely love that one. Alright, I've got 2 more questions. One is, what are your favourite subs? And then I'd love for you to walk us through your routine after that.
Yep. Okay, so I would say top supplements that I find. Oh, this could be a big one. I was just thinking then.
Open up another can of worms here, man.
Are you talking pre-workout, intra-workout, post-workout?
This is just your favourite subs that you think work really well for you, man.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the ones that I always try and have ordered and I hate to run out of. Because I got like what I would call my accessory subs, which if I run out of, like, I'm like, you know, I'll order that next week or whatever. But I think whey protein isolate, for sheer convenience, especially with my job role, post-training, I think it's going to be the fastest way of getting your protein in versus eating a chicken breast. I mean, there's plenty of science to support that as well. So I think a whey protein isolate. In the off-season, carbs is a big one for me, powdered carbs, just to get the sheer volume in a daily intake. Pre-contest,
what powdered carbs? You use dextrose?
I use the pure carbs from Gentex, so it's a combination. It's mainly maltodextrin with a bit of fructose in there and glucose too. I like colostrum. I think that's great.
What's your favourite brand of colostrum, man?
I'm not trying to plug here, but Gentex, of course. No, it is the one I've got, man. You got Gentex?
Gentex had colostrum.
Yep.
That is awesome.
Nick Jones is a huge fan of it as well. I get most of my clients on colostrum too.
Oh man,
in
I
terms
love that.
of like
The
immunity,
colostrum's so
gut
good,
health,
man.
like the works.
It's so good. It's like if you could almost have one sup, that would almost be it. It's
Yeah,
just,
I am a big colostrum fan.
So
Yep.
it's like we'll just.
I'm a big fan of that.
I didn't know.
I'm gonna say
that.
a digestive enzyme.
Yeah.
I think they're hugely important.
Yeah, man.
And again, I'm not trying to transition across from supplements to, I guess, vitamins and minerals, but
stuff,
yeah, I think it comes under the same sort of umbrella.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of L-tyrosine for just daily uses as a whole in terms of focus, being mentally switched on and stimulated without stimulating your central nervous system, like caffeine.
Oh yeah. Guys,
so
if you want to learn more about tyrosine, I literally just finished a podcast.
Oh,
on,
perfect.
Nootropics.
Yep. There's a little handball in there.
Into how? Yeah, a little handball.
Yep. So I like L-tyrosine. I think it's great.
Dude, it's awesome. It's like the juice for dopamine.
Yeah.
If it, and then your brain just like has like if it wants to, because there's like all these different pathways that dopamine use. You can categorize it as to like type 1. Super alert, awake, and then type 2 is like extreme focused, zen and chill. And essentially, tyrosine is just like the juice. So whenever your brain wants to go crazy, or if your brain wants to really focus, tyrosine just let your brain use it because it's got all the juice there.
Interesting.
So and it also helps as well if you're having like caffeine, because caffeine uses a lot of type 1 dopamine.
Yep.
So
and you become
the
depleted, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's super handy, man.
That's why when you said you train without pre, I said, is tyrosine and choice.
I use
love
it every now and then though. I can't use it too much because the way my brain works, man, sometimes I'll have tyrosine and it feels like I've done like 4 lines of coke, and I'm like in the gym and I'm like, whoa, shit! Like just.
I need that. I'm gonna try having more L-tyrosine. I haven't hit that level yet.
Dude, nah, man.
What are you going, half a tub at a time? I'll try that.
Nah, sometimes man, it's caffeine, tyrosine, and keto salts I've mixed together.
Ooh, I've heard of these. Yeah.
And because keto cells just get in ketosis, so brain activity.
the ketone straight away,
Right, and if your brain activity increases, then dopamine's going to be, uptake's going to go nuts. And then if you've got tyrosine there, it's going to go also nuts. And if you've got caffeine, like, because I'm just super sensitive to stuff as well.
Yep.
It was like too much. I was like, oh my God. So if I have a day where I'm like, I need it, I'm not taking caffeine, and I'm like, I need to be like real focused today, I'll take some tyrosine. Just so I'm like staying sensitive to it, and then I'm like, oh man, this is the best. I'm trying not to mix it with too much other stuff. I'll keep it on its own now. Because I was like, dude, it sent me to the moon. I was in a workout.
I'm glad. We're both colostrum fans. We're both tyrosine fans.
Man, yeah,
I would say magnesium powder. I think is a big one for a lot of people. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're a business guy, like it. In terms of, I heard that they reckon about like 85 or 90% of us are depleted in magnesium nowadays, just based on the quality of our food and whatnot. So I try and get all my clients onto magnesium as well.
Do you actively feel better when you have magnesium?
I use it pre-bed, and I'm definitely in a more, I guess, I've woken from a more restful sleep when I use it.
Do you use like a powdered or a tablet?
Yes, I use a powdered one.
The good stuff.
I get it from iHerb. It's called Calm Magnesium Powder. I heard it on a podcast. I was saying it's one of the best quality ones. So I think I've used that for like 5 years. Calm.
Nice.
Yep.
Calm Magnesium. Yeah.
In terms of intra training, I love P2P. And again, not trying to plug, but it's got everything under one roof. It's got your carbs in there, your BCAAs, there's some creatine, citrulline malate, glutamine, the works. So for me, super easy, super convenient, rather than having this lab in my PT office, which I still pretty much do, looks like a chemist, but you can just dump 2 scoops in and you're ready to go. They're the main ones that jump to my mind. Citrulline malate pre-workout, love. Other than that, man, I don't get too much from creatine.
Me either.
I'm a bit of a non-responder with creatine, so.
Dude, me too. I feel like it doesn't do too much.
I think they reckon about 2 out of 3 people get a response from it. So it's not that high, really. So,
because just some of the studies, or just actually most of the people that I listen to, will just be like, people talk so highly of it because of the studies that they've researched, so people that I trust, and I'm like, yeah, makes sense. Like if someone asks me, like, would you recommend creatine? I'm like, well, from what I know, yeah, but do you use it? I don't notice significant.
I don't either.
I don't use it.
I don't either.
Never felt some sort of response from there.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I just like glutamine and like a HCP, which is just like a different way.
Yep.
And
glutamine rocks as well. I'm a big fan of that. I could keep going, man, on the supplements, but they are the first.
They're the ones?
They're the handful that come to my mind that I'm always constantly ordering every month. Cool. So, and that's without touching on things like zinc and fish oil and whatnot, but that would be my go-tos.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's like such good ones, man.
And then my routine.
Tyrosine and colostrum. There's some nuggets there if anyone's listening. You want to try some stuff and see how you go?
For sure. And then my routine.
Yeah,
are you
walk
talking
us through like a day and a week of like what you would prioritize for your routine.
Okay.
Just to get a life independent, because obviously I know everyone's routines are different, but there could be some key things in there that you put in that you think's like a little hack that you do.
So what I do, typically this is a 6 out of 7 days type thing.
Okay, yeah.
So alarm goes off at 5 a.m.
Nice.
I walk straight into the kitchen.
Yeah.
About 400 mils of water.
Yeah.
That's down the hatch. Go have my shower, get changed, do the hair, put the cologne on, walk back into the kitchen. Yeah. I then have some collagen powder and a little bit more water.
Oh, nice.
As I do that, I'm brewing a coffee.
I like the collagen as well. It's in the sup.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Although, poor guy, I didn't get a mention in my top 5. It probably should be in there. He deserves his place. So then I would proceed on to work. At the moment, I'm really enjoying driving with zero music on because of the environment that I work in is highly stim-based. Yeah. People moving weights, dance music for like... I'm in a rave for 12 hours a day.
12 hours a day.
Like...
You need to, man. You're so active.
Yeah. This is probably why I don't do cardio, because my heart rate is pumping most of the day. So I would drive down to work, no music on. I use that time to just verbalise some gratitude. That's what I like to do.
I fucking love that. Yeah.
It's just a little habit I've got into.
And you're just out I think speaking it as well
100%
is huge. Like verbally, because you can think stuff all day. Writing stuff down is great as well. It
primes me mentally, and it allows me to get into the person I need to show up to be.
Is there anything that you'd be comfortable sharing?
100%, man. I almost sound like a broken record. My car's probably sick of hearing me say the same thing over and over. But I just verbalise how grateful I am for having air in my lungs to start with, my health, my happiness, my mum and dad, everything I've been able to experience in life, my family, my friends, my partner, the house that I'm able to live in, I should say, sorry. Fresh food I get to eat on a daily basis.
We're blessed being Australian, man. We get the best food.
We are, in this time now of COVID, there would be, and I could argue this, no better city than Adelaide right now in the world.
Dude, our food is crazy.
Who else just had a fringe festival where we weren't even wearing masks? Yeah. And yes, you had to scan codes and that, but we are lucky. We are so lucky right now, and I feel like Adelaide cops a bit of shit. But like, everyone out there now, you New Yorkers and that, you want to be right over here right now.
Yeah,
like, this is the place to be.
Everyone would want to be. I'm just going to...
I'll continue on. So, the gratitude just of being able to do what I do on a daily basis, being able to help others, being able to train, being able to just lead by example, all the experiences I've had in my life, both past and present, all the lessons I've learned, the bad things that have happened to me, the things that have helped me become a better person. I then typically say just like a little bit of thought from above, just if you can look out for my family, their health, their mental health, just allow them to live happy and safe lives. And then I normally say the same about myself and my partner. I try not to say that all the time about me, because I feel like I don't want to be sounding selfish. Like, I feel like I just like to say gratitude sometimes without asking for anything back. And so I know that might sound weird, but that's just one thing I do. Like, rather than always at the end finishing off with,
you feel guilty.
And please look out for me, man. Like, be it whatever you believe in, be it greater universe, divine energy, whether it's a religious figure. Whoever it is that you believe in, whatever it is you believe in, we all got to have faith in something.
Sprinkle a little bit of blessing over me.
Can you just, maybe make me a few inches taller, man. Come on. I've been waiting 31 years for this.
I'll be happy with one.
So that would be a typical sort of gratitude response that I would do.
You get in the gym feeling like,
dude, I'm good.
Myself
like,
the best energy. Mate, you're all gonna get it. Yeah.
Traffic on the way to the gym, please. Someone cut me off. I'll get out. I'll give you a hug. Like, I'm ready for this. This day is gonna start well.
I need a bit of that, man. I'm so impatient in traffic. That is a lesson I gotta learn.
Then typically training clients from 6 a.m. through to about 11:30. Some days it's 12:30. I'll shoot on home, get the laptop out, whatever online programming, it be nutritional or training programming. I'll see the dog. I'll have lunch. So I would slot every single day from 9 to 9:15. That's my client little eating time break.
Okay, yeah.
And my breakfast doesn't look like a typical breakfast. Yeah. It's more of like a traditional meal of be it chicken breast, turkey breast, seafood, or beef occasionally. Being off season, there's some carbs in there, so some rice or sweet potato and a heap of veg or salad at this stage. Salad's more of a summer thing for me. Then I'll be back down the hill to train, typically around 1:32, so that's when I train.
Yep.
So that I try and allow 90 minutes for. If it's a leg day, I try and allow about 2. I'm a little bit older now, it takes a while to warm up, activate, get my body primed and ready. And then I'm working again from, say, 3:30 through to I finish at about 7:45 every night. Then I'm home. If it's in summer, I'll either get on the mountain bike, go for a quick spin, or take the dog for a quick walk. But in winter, I'm more content just to unwind. And then Georgie and I, we eat dinner together every night. It's our time. The phones go away. We talk about our days, connect, and then from there we start to unwind. So we went through a recent phase recently since, I think we started just around Christmas time. I bought an ab wheel. And so I'm like, right, every night before bed we're doing ab wheel because I've been a little bit slack with the core training. So that was a part of the routine. So we started doing the ab wheel. Occasionally we'll do the foam roll. I got a Theragun now, so I might give the legs a bit of a buzz.
Feels exactly the same.
Then I have my pre-bed sups, my magnesium, my zinc. I'll have my colostrum. Take some taurine, some ashwagandha. Start to unwind, brush my teeth, have a shower, go to bed. Get ready to do it over again. The weekend routine's slightly different. I have to get out and do something on a Sunday. That fills that bucket I was talking about.
On Sundays?
Sunday is my day off completely from the gym, unless I've missed a training session throughout the week, which is very rare. But Sunday is I call it my recharge, my bucket filler. So it's my chance to get out amongst nature, to go motocross riding, downhilling, go for a car cruise, get on the Harley, whatever it is. To recharge and be a little bit selfish with my time and day.
No one could stop you for that day out. Someone says like you're absolutely.
Georgie knows if we've got something on and I can't do that, I'm a little bit wound up. I need to do something. So that's when if we're beaching, for a maximum of 2 minutes, I need to do something. For a maximum of 2 minutes. So those sort of days I need something. But and then on the weekends, Georgie and I, we like to eat out. It's about our time. So I really try and prioritize that too as being a partner. And so she doesn't get a whole lot of my time throughout the week, which is she understands the demands of my job and what I do and trying to obviously service all my clients and everything. So for me on the weekend,
beautiful girl,
she's amazing. And so for me on the weekend, it's a priority to have some quality time with her too. So that's for the most part, man, give or take a few variables. They're the main things that occur in my routine.
Cool, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, so in depth, because man, that's got me start thinking about a few things as well. Well, we'll wrap it up for this podcast, man. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
Admittedly, I'm not as probably active on social media as I should be. We could have gone, man, that's a whole nother podcast. Let's do this again. Let's talk about social media. This is something I'm passionate about and how it's changed our lives. So we'll do that again. But I've got obviously my Facebook, Ben Wortley. My Instagram is Benny_Wortley. Guess you guys don't want Gmail. That makes me sound like an 8-year-old.
You gotta get on there though, because people you just got to see how crazy you look, and man, you have guided people through competing, so many people, and they've all looked ridiculous. You're you're a master guru for helping people get super shredded, and all the stories that I hear from you, and your training and your dieting stuff is just is wow. So people, if you're listening to this podcast, please just go have a look. If you don't know who he is, I'm sure a lot of people obviously are going to know who Ben is listening to this.
I look taller in photos.
Just let me know. But you got to look, because it's super impressive, and if you are interested in learning any of this stuff, I'm sure you'd be happy if people just sort out, send you a message.
That's what I love to do. But thanks so much for having me, man, and that was quite the rap. I should have got you to write my resumes when I was younger, because you made me sound too good, man. But no, I really appreciate coming on here, and hey, good luck for your
big flex, and good luck for this comp this year, and
likewise
you get to crush it, man.
Those Corey t-shirts will be coming. You wait. Thanks, man.
All right, see you, everybody.